Okay, so I'm recording this on the 1st of January 2021, and this is part 3. The most recent version, the 7th integration attempt. However, this is really part of 2020 because I haven't gone to bed. I've just been up a hill with a friend of mine in the night, in the snow, and we met one other family up there. And this is just outside of a city of 600,000 people. 5 to 10 minutes out of the city. Okay, beautiful, Peak District, beautiful. So, I hope you had a good celebration at the beginning of 2001, and the year that you've actually that you're watching this in. Okay, whichever year you happen to be. Okay. It was very interesting to engage my friend because she's watched part 1 of previous integration, and so she was asking me about what happens in part 2. I thought, well, rough idea is, and I revealed some things about it. So this last one, the one I did last night, the ones that you just watched, the previous 2, will really have push the boat out. So everybody that's now watching, everybody who ever has and everybody who ever will, okay, that avoids the problem that my friend had thinking about, if there's only a couple of people now, how many people in the future? And you think 100,000. It's like, oh no, that's too many. We can't think that. Like, okay, so how many people have watched it so far? Well, I recorded it and I've shared it with my friends, so nobody. So to imagine any of this is almost as hard as me imagining it. And so, but luckily, I think she might enjoy the second part and she'll want to watch the third. And if she does, she kind of, encouraged to share it. And so similarly, this third part, my friend, watching this at some point, to think in the future about this, it's very difficult, very difficult, because it's all to do with probabilities and things. However, there is that aspect that that everybody who's got and watching this have decided and have already done it, decided and shared this thing, which means that what we're about to project here is now no longer limited by what you think is possible, because you've actually made it possible by sharing it. Okay, so it's not, the numbers are not your responsibility. You've done your responsibility, you've shared it. Now, if people, you can share more, of course, but that was enough. And the fact that you did it before watching the third part, that's like double qualification. Okay, we're doing fantastically well. And it means that the challenge that the early people have, okay, but remember, whatever year you're in, it's a good one because of what's ahead. And by the time people are approaching watching this at 2030, it's still completely unrealistic what's up ahead. However, there is a reasonable amount of evidence. Okay, and the most interesting bit of one of the most interesting bits of this is that the early people had really no idea and overcame that kind of not being able to predict or objecting to large numbers. Okay, even though they kind of like the idea of global unity, they just can't handle the numbers. They just can't handle the possibilities. However, at this point or other, we can respect them. We can thank the people that were in the early days. Just now I'm looking at this and how well I've done, and also that gives some kind of courage. All right, the people earlier really had absolutely no sight of this thing up ahead, and very, very little evidence, and they selected. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay, 2030, and approaching 2040, it's like wow. Okay, and so we do have to respect the people early on that really, this is just. But here we are now. Okay, and so I think I've done this in another video. I just go, look, we just have to let go of whether you can or cannot deal with these numbers. Enjoy, all right? Enjoy participating in the thinking and what you might consider the probability or the very small possibility that other people watch it, which is doing them a disservice actually, because if they're actually here, then they're really in 2030, you know, they're appreciating what you've done in sharing. All right, so and there's no possibility or probability to this because you did it. Okay, so you know it's a respect that they're given which is real. So when we consider them in the future, just consider them as possibilities. It's a bit nah. Whereas we've constructed all this so far so that everybody now, all right, has done this, and so it doesn't matter when you watch this. There are still so many things to be able to do. It's amazing. But obviously, the first few people really had like, wow, it's like it's like a pioneers. And you know, as I say, the chances are absolutely tiny, but there's a reasonable amount of evidence. So okay, let's give it a go. Okay, and there's still a hell of a lot to do. All right, serious stuff to do. So, from this perspective, looking back, and you know, the person looking forward is just imagining this. But again, we have to. I'm demonstrating. I'm verbalizing though. I shouldn't have to do this because we're in the third part. And quite frankly, you can just let go of that. You can let go of any positionality in time because there are aspects of it that you're looking backwards and aspects you're looking forwards, whatever it is that we are in time. And so we don't have to exclude ourselves or specialize or reduce or locate ourselves in this chronological sequence, okay? Because there are different challenges within each, and here we are all watching now, okay, and it's valuable. But what can I say from here, because that's the real chronology, that would be even vaguely useful for people in 2030? And I'd be saying, if I don't manage to survive, it's like, it's definitely the people watching, yeah? We're talking about 100,000 people, yeah? Wow. Okay, so one, everybody, a round of applause, all right, for the fact that you've got us here, 100,000 of us, and here we are. What are we going to do? Okay, and it's a bit like, you know, part one, part two. Okay, so why are we doing all this? Why are there 100,000 of us? Now, I think, you know, the most obvious one is global unity. The fact, you know, social cohesion, and to transform all these institutions and traditional structures, to transform them. You know, so instead of, you know, so when somebody hears about it doesn't matter when, maybe quite late, and they only hear about it quite late, about scale, and they actually literally convert their company into a scale system. By then, we'll be really good at doing that. Okay, because it's just an economic thing, all right? It's not as if we actually have to go to somebody's house and change kind of cables or put in a different waterworks or anything like that. It really is just intentionality and numbers to do with direction, and that's all money really is. Okay, but converting it into being vectors, it should be an overnight operation. You know, setting up some preparation and then right, you're now fully in scale. And there'll be people doing that quite late as well, all right? And we'll have the evidence that lots of other people have done so and they're benefiting. It's really good. So, but you know, it took a while to get to this point. And some people may have heard about it here, but then just didn't do it until here. That's fine. So at any point that anybody's joining, do you see? It's like there are things that have happened, sure, all right, but that's a bit too easy. You have to respect the people who did that, and they were all looking forward to going, oh my, never. Okay, that's just never going to happen, and yet here they are because they've actually decided to share. Okay, so they acted. Okay, we're saying, you know, sounding a little bit not pessimistic, no, negative, I guess, or a bit scathing, is to bring our reality into like existence is fantastic. To not enjoy the moment of doing so. You know, of actually sharing with another person. You know, part one, part two, and then part three to actually share with another person because something's interesting or engaging enough or some kind of something. All right. Wow, we did it. We did it. No, we did it here. We did it here. We did it here. We did it. All right. Everybody here has done it. All right. It's amazing. And it's for the first few people to really enjoy this kind of mental thing because it's you. You literally did it. And how important that is. And you're literally doing it, and whoever it is, future, right? And we're all going forwards, and we're all here. Now, really enjoy that, okay? Because it's like a world premiere. Okay, this is before. This is a bit like the action cycles where you decide what it is that you'd like to do, and then you get to the point where you disperse and you actually do it. So what we're doing here is kind of preparation of it, okay? And the first time you hear it, it doesn't matter what period. It's just like, oh, this is for real. Yes, because you just made it real, all right? You made the social thing real, and here we are, okay? And, you know, come back again if you really want to, but the first time you hear this is it, okay? It's a world premiere, okay, of Global Unity, and actually being present with the people in 2040 who actually have achieved it. You see, I can't believe that. See, I can't, and I'm sitting there, you know, coming up with this stuff. So it gets easier, though. I mean, you know, I can't. I mean, I almost did, but you know, the first few people I give it to, you know, my friends, and they'll be like, absolutely not. I know, but there is something about enjoying the possibility from way back there and the actual reality here. Okay, you can feel really, really good. It's not as if It's not as if this is like TV show. I'm not entertaining you, and it's not an intellectual thing. You're not at school, but there's I don't know. All right, you're here. We're, you know, just enjoy not just the thought of it, okay, but the actual truth socially, okay, in this, okay, and accepting that is possible at any period. I think harder for the earlier people, but they've got the harder task. Okay, they're right in front of this thing. Should be slightly easier. You know, closer we get to this. Yeah. A billion people. We've got to do a lot of sorting. Okay, I've kind of emphasised it enough, but well, okay. I presume then, I have to presume that sorted out the level of complexity, prioritised what we need to do in our larger and larger numbers of people. It's not just constellations of small groups, individuals and little groups. It must be working at certain levels of scale. And this is a rather crude way of putting it, 100,000 people, okay? We need a little bit more definition. By 2030, with XQ, I think we're going to have a lot more definition as to the quality of commitment people are demonstrating. Yeah, demonstrating. Okay, and that will be the value of the project. What value do you think this is? Or, you know, the video, you know, whether you like it. I don't know. But it's actually more to do with projects that people are doing and how enthused they are in doing it, and be quite honest about that. And whatever projects that we're all doing, you know, there's money flow and there's various things, action cycles, or the equivalents, you know, whatever's happening to schools, what happens with multi-reflexivity. If these things are happening as I've imagined them, wow, there'll be a lot of skills because there's a lot of project management has been solved. Okay, planning solved, distributing goods, logistics solved. Okay, so it's really just about us organizing ourselves. Okay, and then once we kind of do that a little bit more, then in terms of our almost like psychic level, then and at the same time social, okay, but in larger and larger scales. So by the time we get to this, no, 100,000, yeah, we'll have a lot more quality as to who at 2030 because it depends on what they're committing their projects, or their lives, and the money. It depends where they're pointing their money at, and how much of it more is being generated as a result. Because it is to do with, it's not to do with attracting people to an idea. It's about practicing ideas and tools. And in the practice of these tools, it should, as far as I can understand it, value will go up, appreciation of human beings, and the application of mathematics appropriately, a proper subject of science, social science, a subject of social science, action, cycle, whatever it is that we're doing, really. Yeah, how many of these people are actually doing these things? How many of them are independent financially? Is it 100,000 people that are independent financed? I don't know. No, because we can't see that. We can't get that happening in first year. Well, we could if we get finals. Right, okay, so what do I say to you that's actually useful? Okay, so yes, I've accepted. Electricity. There's one issue I haven't been able to quite compensate for sufficiently well. Thank you, yes. You know everything. You know your context. You know the people that are well connected. You know the people that get you into. You personally know a few people, okay? And there are different organizations, parts of how it is that people are organizing themselves towards future objectives. Okay, so everybody knows what we're doing. Okay, and yeah, okay, so it's a plan, but it's a plan that is visible in people's intentions. And the intentions are visible because of the economics. We can literally see what people are intending to do that day, and as a result, what's going to happen in a week, and so on and so forth. We can see the future planning for things like waterworks. We can talk about different kinds of agricultural shift from chemical fertilizers and so on and so forth to more organic. But also with the calculations of the resources and how that gets allocated. So have various complex whole systems being converted before this? Yes, okay, has to have, all right, in a country somewhere where the logistic complexity has been solved and it has been fully integrated with scale. Where is this? It's 20 years from then. That's a lot of time, right? If the right people get hold of it, when the right people get hold of it, and they develop it, some important people well connected with money, okay, well, a few of them at the beginning, just share it with a few of their friends, and we get the right people, okay, that on the ground can actually produce a result. Yeah, okay. And if we're practicing that as soon as possible, wherever soon it is, at levels of organizational complexity that involve, I don't know, logistics of Amazon. Okay, no, we won't. We probably won't be at that point there, because that would be almost like a competition. But we will for everything else. There will be. This isn't a sure thing. Okay, so however much we do our action, and it's there's aspects of it that are enjoyable to explore the possibility of. Even the thinking that actually there are 100,000 people here now, okay, which is kind of nice. There will be competition. There will be things trying to stop certain things happening. There will be institutional response. Now, I haven't dealt with that in any of the other videos. Okay, I haven't really kind of thought it, because to anticipate the attack that will happen, which is partly conscious but partly just the structures socially, the social structures responding, with criticism, with economic pressures to effectively corrupt people. Business, silos, putting various pressures to maintain their structures. Structures don't want to, collapse, basically. And so people in these structures don't want to lose their jobs. So the dissolution of these it's a careful thing. It's happening just slowly with individuals, so it's balanced, it does quite well. Or it's very small silos that convert quickly. An individual, 2 or 3 people working as a company, dissolving into and using scale techniques, scale money, and various techniques in order to solve collective problems. Now, to get to the point where people are 2040, yes, this has been done at scale, but there will be competition. There'll be other people. To predict them would be, I think, a waste of time. All right. Well, maybe not, but that's like preparation in martial arts, okay, as opposed to Tai Chi. I don't talk about these things. These things I've learned these things through various practices, being there socially, but other non-verbal, non-conceptual spaces, like for example tango. That wasn't tango, that was Tai Chi. And tango, okay. And they embody these practices, quite a few of these practices. So, in a martial art, as tango, I don't want to predict what the person's going to do. And I don't want them to predict it either. But sadly, most people go to these lessons and they want to learn a step, or that's the way it's packaged financially with the traditional method. Okay, but with our scale, it's better. Okay, we're paying for a good experience, in effect. And so, hopefully we'll have a lot less prediction, all right? Because a lot of people in tango, they're always trying to predict what it's usually the guy, is trying to do. Whereas what I do something that is so confusing, I'm confused about what's going on. I don't know which is where, because I'm following the music, and some of it's quite demanding. You just go, I don't know what's happening with my body, but this is what's happening, and it does things because of the music. Oh, and we're turning here because of the music. I'm doing a reasonable amount like that, and then because I'm doing it so fast or something or other, it means that the women, usually women, just kind of submits to it, just lets her body move around, to the music with me. And just basically stays with me. And then there's a very beautiful loop where I basically follow her. And that is tricky. Okay, yeah. The person who is following me, because I'm going this way, so we'll link into that, and do a parallel course with me. Forwards, backwards, left, right. Okay, slight head up and downs as well, rotations. Breathing. So literally breathe almost at the same time. And then what happens? But no. The person's following. There's a delay of some kind or other, but it's within capacity to be able to think what it is. So it's happening. And basically, she's also enjoying whatever it is that's happening. But what I do is I follow her. Okay, so I'm no longer taking my cues from music so much. I'm also taking cues from where she is, what she's doing, and her motion of her body. And I can't do that with this medium. I can do it in a classroom. I can do it person to person, but it's we have to do a little bit of a little bit of work, I guess. All right, to do this collectively. Even the second part, we've got some relationship going on here, but unless people actually connect, the 3 people go, really? Yeah, really. Oh, okay. We're leaving it to almost like the next person. But it's to do with checking the values, seeing what other people are wanting to do, and actually giving and helping them. Trying different these things out, or how do you use these things in different ways? Okay, and that process of learning and growing is I cannot. So you don't want to predict what the responses are, because to 3 people, the systems don't respond to 3 people. But unless they're doing something destructive, which we're not doing, we're doing constructive. And it takes a long time before constructive things are kind of spotted by other people. Okay, So maybe some point or other, let's get the virals. If the scale works and we get virals, then like, oh, well, there we go. People will pay attention. But if we don't do it that way, okay, or even if we do get those virals, within the system and how people are using scale, we want people actually doing some significantly good things. In order to give people courage to do more things. Now, at some point or other, it gets to a stage where it is spotted by some institution. At some point, for example, governments are going to go, right, what are you doing with money? Okay, you're telling people it's a one-to-one relationship. So, okay, well, what, and how does this work? And gifting and stuff like that. The institutions, and there'll be institutions that kind of will want to stop that from happening. Okay, maybe. Okay, there'll be advertising, maybe negative stuff. I don't know. However, so the positive version of the fact that very little seems to be happening is, well, below the radar, all right? But once we get above a certain radar, there are various responses that start kicking. And it's through the speed of those responses and whether the speed of our growth and the social cohesion and the results are faster than whatever it is that's reacting from any of the other systems, like the media, okay, whether this is a good or a bad thing. There'll be a few people saying, and trolling, it's bad, blah, 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 and paid or recommended by people in such structures. And it's only if this rate is going fast enough that it meets the institutional response, the level of the institutional response. Does this make sense? Okay, so therefore, it's like responding to what's concurrently happening. And that's the people that are living, well, basically, now. Okay? Whatever year it is, your year, you now, it's basically up to you guys. So to actually sit there and predict that there are going to be this problem and that problem is a bit like discounting your future response to it as it's happening. I can predict that I don't think there's going to be a religious kickback until very, very late. Okay, because basically they're so, they are religions are basically the oldest things, so they're kind of the slowest things to even worry about the fact that they can compete amongst themselves. But to actually even see what this is I can't imagine it too much. So I suspect that the kind of kickback to religion is going to be very, very late, if at all. I suspect academia is one of the slowest as well. Okay, they are super slow. I mean, it takes them a year and a half or something to get anything checked, and they're looking at things that happen. So they have to see some kind of result significant enough for academics to then, okay, oh look, there's something legitimate to study in their traditional method. We're not talking about our multi-reflexive verification way. No. We're talking about the traditional method. Has to be successful enough, triggers something or other, and then they'll study it. Like they're studying Twitter and they're studying this and the next thing. But it takes like a year or a year and a half before it happens. Right. Well, I talked about media too much. So these are slow. These are going to be slow. Economics, business, media. I haven't talked about media, have I? But that's what this is all about. It's about us. So it's medium. It's art. Us. There is no it's just us. Okay, we're just us. So media will kick back because basically we're using things in a different way. I think economics is slow. I think economics will be slow. But media will be faster than that. They will respond to it because there's lots of people, various companies and organizations that kind of the ones that were complaining about Google. However, if we produce good enough social results collectively in business structures, equivalent to business structures, but networks, I think that will validate it. So the point is that we don't have to worry about the structural responses because they will happen only at the rate of the structural response. Okay, remember, we're talking as one here. collectively, not. We're not isolated individuals, remember, yeah? So it literally is us. And if we're talking with 100,000, great. And if we're billions, like, oh, great. Okay, it's the same situation. If it's just 10 of us, well, great. Okay. The number of people that trigger these institutional responses then is equivalent in some sense and capable of dealing with the level of social institutional response. But, together, yeah. So 100,000 people have to kind of really have unity. Maybe that's what this number is. It's us now. Okay, 100,000 of us. Committed to global unity. Has that happened yet? No, we just decided to share. Have you decided? Is this what part 3 is? Are we deciding? Am I deciding? Who's deciding here? I mean, if you're going to do anything back here, no, we've just shared stuff. Deciding. Are we deciding anything? Is this, how do we decide in this space? How do we decide in this third part? Now, I've used this other thing, first, second, third part, this economic structure, maybe as the basis for others. But what we're specifically doing here with this content material is to do with this funny little trajectory from 21 to 2040. And it's something to do with pulling all these systems together. And so this third part is not just, another third part. This is it. This is it. I can't get beyond thinking that this is... Okay, so if this is it, and okay, how do we make this decision? Okay, each one of us has done things. I'm trying to set the thing in motion, but how do you make a decision, with 100,000 people? There'll be lots of different projects that we're doing, and hopefully by then we'll have a lot better visualization of that if we need to. But I think it should be temporal. So you could say, okay, what are the things I'm going to do today, right? And it's just a sequence. It's just like, okay, it's not a list, because a list is a spatial representation, so it should be just one thing after another. So you should have about 10 things, right? And you look through, what do I have to do today? Okay, not that. Oh, I'll do this. Okay, or you cycle through them, not that, and you can throw them back to the end of the pile for today, or you can throw them a bit further into tomorrow or next week. Okay, so you can try to throw them into the future, different stacks, as it were, and then you go, okay, I'm going to do this now. Boom. And that's it. You just hit the now button, and then you go ahead and you do your thing. You say, right, finished it. Boom. Okay. And you might have several of those. You might have several things simultaneously, or several different things. You don't have to do it every day. You could just spread it over the week. Okay, so there's lots of settings that will be done by 100,000. All right, by 2030. Certainly, when we get to viral, it means we can afford to do this like early. All right, and it means that we can see what we're aiming for, okay, and what we're agreeing to. So it's like this constellation thing. That's a static thing. We've actually got these projects and the sequences, what we're doing as we're going forwards. That's our plan, at least. Okay, for short-term things, like for the day and then the week. And the interface you get is basically a painting, all right? But you can flick it into the future and the past. But there must be a way of seeing it so that you can compare easily with other people's. And the way you kind of do that is the number of people. So you can get a visual representation of the future, and you can see how the different people connect into that objective and how these objectives fit to other objectives. It's a bit like project management. Okay, it's a bit like project management. And there'll be some people that are really good at that and helping, okay, the structure of that and the sequence, and there'll be different people doing different things as we're trying to approach a specific problem. That is quite substantial, like that we can only achieve in 5 years. And we'll be doing that here, all right? We should be doing projects of about 5 years from 100,000. I don't know. I'm just making it up, yeah? But I suspect at that point you want to have something. So am I saying things? What am I saying? So you want to have 5 years. Some kind of sustainability for 5 years. It might not be. It might not be possible. Now, I would like to think that by the time we get here, we've got at least 100 years. Okay, so we've got a good plan for the next 100 years. Like, really, properly, all of us basically. And we have, well, I'm going to be doing this bit, and then, yeah, I'm happy to make sure that, we've got sustainability from that point on. I'm not going to look at it because, my head will explode. So all I'm just going to do is these bits. Okay? And every so often, it's like, is this really part of sustainability? And some other people have been checking and said, yeah, look, we've got all these different options and we're kind of pursuing these paths. And these are the people doing it. Go and speak to them if you're interested. But you're part of it and you're part of this channel. Oh, okay, that's cool. So we need to have something which is going to be longer and sustainable, basically. So if we can look at something in a cycle, definitely of a year. Okay. Globally, just to be able to globally, I'd say even 5 years maybe. What is that? Is that a commitment to 5 years? Yeah, the 100,000 people have enough money that they can effectively live for 5 years. Sharing, distributing to other people, blah, 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 because they're generating enough money collectively from the old system, but and converting. They're attracting money because they're, producing beautiful art or some films or something or other. It's attracting enough money that effectively their future projections are 5 years. They've got enough money. Yeah. 100,000 people have enough money. You could probably calculate that now. Couldn't you? If you had to live for 5 years, we're talking about the equivalent of okay, I don't know. Well, how much do people really need? I don't mind having 10,000 a year. 10,000 a year should be fine for me. But some people need a lot more because of the houses, the old systems, and everything else. But so just to be kind of really, I don't know, let's say 30, 50k, 50k, 50,000. I mean, that's a lot, I think. So 50,000 a year. 50,000. 50k. Okay, so 5 times that is 250k. Okay, if it's per year. Okay, so that's 250k per person, which is times that 25. No, 25 million. No. Billion. Yeah, billion. Is that right? 250k is 250 million. Okay, I'm confused because the k in my head is doing something. It's 250k times by 100,000. That's just outrageous. Cut this down to 50, from 50k down to 10k. Are we okay with 10k? Okay, so people could be making more than that. It's just that, I see. This is people that they need 50k. Okay, it's not, or are they giving 50k? I don't know. There are some people that are wealthy enough that they can kind of like give 50k a year. And there are other people that we need to effectively, have to receive the equivalent of 50k a year in order to, put that money back into old economics. No. Okay, the whole point about getting to this number is that there are 100,000 people who are sharing in such a way that the money is not going out. The money is not being converted back into. Is that possible? I don't know if that's possible. 100,000 people, and basically, it's just everybody's just putting money in, and they're just getting more and more of these credits, and they're sharing credits. They can actually live just sharing through using credits rather than money. They're not converting it back into money. That's what we're saying. Those 100,000 people are not converting credits back into money. So they do actually have this. In which case then, though, this 25 billion, it depends how you're thinking about. If that was one single vector, that would be a 250k vector. Yeah? Because that would go into 5 years. That's 250k. If you think about it as being the whole amount over that period. So the 25 billion is not into the future. It's the total of all the people that have that. You're like, really? Do we need that? All that amount of money? If you're not actually converting any of it back into money. I.e., is this like a static amount? So people have generated 250k's worth of whatever the scale equivalent of credits, 250k credits. Okay, times it by, you have to times it by 100, so it would be 25 million. 25 million credits. That would be the thing. Okay, so they've generated all that kind of money, and 100,000 people have generated that. It's like, oh, well. They have actually managed to somehow or other attract us and be within a system where they can actually distribute that so that it's cycling back. Okay, I think that this is a mistake to think it this way. Okay, I think it's more to do with it's not a rate. There's something going on here which I can't quite do because I'm using this idea of the rate. And that's a mistake. I think that's an old aspect of the old economic and that form of mathematics. I don't think that's how our credits are working. So it's almost like a fallback option. I don't know what it is. I just can't work it out. Okay. So but do you see, we've got from there to there to, develop, some people are going to be going, oh, I want to do some of this maths business. It's like, oh yeah, great, because I can't quite get my head around it. How do we translate this? Because you see the level that I've got, it's dreadful. I mean, it's dreadful. So what can I see that's actually useful? Well, some kind of projection for 5 years would be kind of useful. I think it'll be longer when we're here. But actually, it could just be a year. Okay, there's enough money for a year. And there's enough, basically the cycle, the biological cycle for the year is good. But the idea of the 5 years is to actually transform a bit of land or, shift things over from some industrial form of manufacture, what do you call it, farming, to a more people-intensive way of farming, which involves basically kids as well being involved. Okay, not slave labour, but just taking part in actually growing things. So we're yeah. So yeah. I think it's possible. I think that's possible. Even more years. All right, but 5 years, and the money equivalent in our old economics, so that basically they're really secure. Okay, yes, they're taking risks and using this alternative system, and so that's their security. It's a future security. And that's what we're building, basically. If you kind of think about it, you think, well, the people here kind of go, oh, there's more money being converted into credits than there is money in the world. You're like, yeah. The people back here will be like, sorry, what? Look, three of us, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Well, if we've got to anywhere close to this end, at some point there's going to be more money in scale than there is outside of scale. Really? Okay. And it's because it's kind of being stacked up into the future, and these are our intentions. And there's a stability to how people are interacting regarding resource distribution that is sustainable and it's fair, basically, as we progress. Okay, so all the money is there, almost. Okay, at the beginning of this, it won't be quite like that. Okay, but once we get 1 billion people, and it's obviously proven with less than that, until eventually it does get to 1 billion, 8 billion, right? The money is being used, that same money is all being used to point towards future objectives. Okay, so it might not be completely sustainable. And there's still things to be changed. I mean, significant things that take 2 decades to change. There'll be things, if we had to do hardwire changing, that takes decades of time, just mining this stuff and digging it up and then putting it together at such scale globally. Or, it takes decades to put a whole bunch of satellites up, or to clean up the satellites. I mean, that's going to take a little while, okay? Although we'll come up with some clever techniques for it, but it takes a while to develop techniques and trust and experiments, blah, blah, blah. To basically disarm ourselves of certain kinds of industry. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too. There's no point. You see, I'm way back here. There is no point. However, what we're trying to indicate, is that at some point or other, maybe it's that point. Okay, global unity. Okay, and if we don't, it's not 2040. It's before or after, whatever it is. All right, Earth times 0. Okay, we actually have more money being used to show our intentions and plan, and we all cooperate as we go forwards with sufficient food, with reasonable housing, and with a better, psychosocial environment. More entertainment, less money. There's no money put into bombs and everything else. We just solved the whole argument that we've been running for the last few thousand years about people wanting more. Okay, right. Now, we've got some point or other where we've either got that or we definitely have that as our intention, and within 20 years, definitely, it's done. Okay, everybody's got the same amount of money. We're all voting equally. Oh, really? Yes. Okay. So it's something to do with the distribution and how much money is being converted into credits, but it's also how those credits are distributed. And I would like to think, if you look at how I've actually started this thing, okay, there's a bit of funding. Okay, I'm going to put it, I have no money. I'm going to ask Andrew or anybody else actually to go, right, could you just put a little bit more cash in, because if we develop this little thing, we can show right from the beginning how this works, which is there's a value. You can do the SQ algorithm on absolutely everybody. Okay, and so the social context is everybody in all social contexts. So you do the SQ algorithm, and then you get your global SQ. And what you can do is you can actually hit a button and just pay money and just go support this group. Well, everybody. Yeah. So you get your £10, you just go, right, this is going to everybody. Okay. And just see where the pennies lie and drop. And it's the people with a higher SQ. Okay. You're like, oh, who are they? Who are the people with the highest SQ globally? Okay. And they're getting more credits. Because they're getting more credits, they've got higher SQ, it means they're doing something good, and some money's coming to them. I don't even know who they are. I just go, there's 10 quid. Oh, this person seems to have got. Why? Who's top of the list? Why? And you just throw it up in the air, and for everybody. Okay, so everybody's got an SQ. So that is beautiful. Okay, now I would like to think the SQ algorithm might need to be altered in order to to reduce any, what do you call it, the equivalent of economic disparity. Okay, but this is to do with thanking and giving too much thanks, and that's basically the social power that person has. So if we end up at any point with people with the equivalent of thousands of people, okay, that's a lot of power for an individual to have. Maybe I shouldn't be thanking them as much. Okay, so there could be some people might. I think we will learn. You kind of thank the people that you know. You don't thank, a person that you've seen on a television screen that's being broadcast to several million people, because then a million people thank that person, and boom, suddenly the most important person on the planet. No, wait a second, that's just because of the broadcasting. So we don't thank people we don't know, really. I mean, we can a little, but be very, very careful with that. What we're really doing is thanking the people that we engage. Yeah? I maybe go into that. So, so be considerate about who you're thanking, and basically you're working together on doing things. And the money that we're all putting in towards these objectives, we're kind of trying to align with others and think that we're providing solutions for other people and so on and so forth as we go forward within this sequence, wherever it is that we are. So the gratitude tracking means that even right from the beginning, you can just put in 10 quid, throw it in the air, and it goes towards the people that are producing the best value locally. Okay, but collectively. And then, so that's multiple locals. And imagine you're just working with a bunch of people and suddenly, more money. And you're like, okay, I'll just come in. You do your thing, more money. Okay, I'm helping people and, providing some service somewhere. People are, thanking me for whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, more money. Okay, well, I think we should be going this way, I think. And then you just kind of do what you do. And more money, and you're like, it's working, yes, it's working. I think it's working. Is it working? Yeah, I think maybe that way. And if somebody else maybe, or is it a lot of, I think it's, and then we discuss things about where we think the money should be going as we go forwards, as we're doing the service. But how far we look into the future is basically how much money we've got, or how much power we have. So to think this, my perspective, I can put to put anybody at any point, just go, just throw 10 quid, just let it see where it goes. And then you can look at different projects, and over time we'll be able to see, not right now you can't, but at some point with the different versions and different aspects, you can see where the money's going, who's getting the money, and why. You can see the projects that they've got. That's what you're funding. Okay, you can do it directly, obviously. You can support specific things that you're interested in, of course. But what I'm trying to indicate is that there's this very simple button that just goes beyond my vision. Definitely, everybody. Okay, do that collective thing. Collectively rain on the right people, and then people that are doing well just end up going, okay, and become clearer to us and develop a bit more experience about how to think about things in the future in a way which actually gets the results. So expanding from short term to 5 years. And we're talking about transformation systems. I mean, 100,000 people acting together, what are they going to do in these different... I mean, one thing is just kind of things dissolving a bit. 100,000 people over a year can do that are self-funded with and developed and practicing tools, and introducing alternative economics that are just achieving things, effectively just attracting more money, is just, but to act as one almost, throughout the year, not all the time, okay, but being able to, all of them, affect something, do something, put money into something, and get a result, and act on it over a period. Most of it will be local. Most of it will be in these small, little things. However, some of them will have trajectories of, well, look, 5 years. Okay. Wow. Just a whole bunch, just a lot of arrows going forwards. So it's not just one amount, the largest amount, it's smaller ones. So that distributed amongst various projects from, a year downwards. So I think that totaling it up and doing it as a rate, I think, is a kind of mistake. I suspect it might just be 50p per year. They've got enough for the cycle for the year, and the projections are for plans. Are achievable in 5 years. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Blah blah blah. But there is a decision. Whatever's going on, okay, at this period, there's going to be a bit of better app, and they're going to be able to see the future more significantly than we can. Okay, and at this point, it'll even be stronger with a greater future trust, visibility of what's going to be happening, and a greater amount of people and deeper trust across, us locally, but basically globally. That is quite beautiful, right? That's quite beautiful. But there'll be lots of things that are going to be stopping. Okay, so legal things. It's going to be interesting, but it's just to do with the rate at which it's growing, the rate of innovation and the rate of good social results, and can basically counter any of the structural, because we're appealing basically to people. Okay, just the more people just like, guys, get out of any structure you're in, come and join us, let's have a bit of a laugh, and let's sort out these very basic disorders. Okay, I don't know. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. That was part 3. It's the best I can do. If I can enjoy I look forward to seeing evidence and enjoying when these things happen. Okay, and if they don't, it's like, will I be disappointed? I don't think I'm going to be alive that long, actually, in terms of. I don't think I'll be able to live. Let's see, disappointed. Let's put it that way. Okay, so yes, I think there is a decision here, and it's something to do with commitment. And I think I just said it in a way which is probably the most gentle way of putting it. Yeah, I think other people are more important than me, and I will. I'm willing to take it to the edge. Okay, so good luck. That's all I can say. And when it's happening, it's going to be great. And that's it. Nothing is compared to the experience of others. So thank you very much for paying attention. And listen, what I have to say in 2020, way back in 2020, my best wishes going forwards in everything that I've done. Good luck about reorganizing yourselves and ourselves. Hopefully, I'll be part of it too. We'll see. And that goes for everybody watching. Yeah, we'll see. um, yeah, make decisions.